The following story may not be appropriate for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today we're going to continue the story that I wrote for you for this spooky season. Just like last year, my Patreon will be one part ahead. So without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Express Static, Part 2. When I got home, I simply stopped in the driveway, stared at my house for a while. I had it all: white picket fence, a mortgage, a husband. Yet, I just want to escape. I pulled forward. The garage doors clanged shut behind me. I sat there in my car, not wanting to leave, but my stomach urged me on. I stepped out of my car and eyed the other vehicle in the garage, a red sports car. My key opened the interior door. I stepped inside warily, like going into a known hazard zone. The air always felt like this, or at least, it has for a long time now. Tense and fragile, like a precarious stack of glass that only needed an offensive breeze before it came crashing down. It had been piling up for quite some time. Our house was nothing too special, but it was more than others had. A living room, dining room, kitchen combo, and a sitting room on the other side. We had a small backyard and an upstairs, but there were only a couple of bedrooms.
An interesting three-quarters play from Johnson, though I'm not sure how he expects to get the ball out of that corner.
My husband was planted where he usually was, on the couch, watching sports, all in a dark cave of closed curtains. By the stagnant look of things in the room, I guessed he still hadn't found a new job. I sighed and tossed my keys onto the entry table, but just stood there for a moment. The urge to pick the keys back up and go somewhere else was strong. I didn't go. I never did. I walked into the kitchen instead. The same dishes from a week's buildup were still there. I was supposed to cook dinner tonight, but I didn't. Instead, I simply opened the fridge and took out the Chinese leftovers from 3 days ago. The rice was definitely going to be chewy, but it was quick. I stared at the back of my husband's head. My glare was sharp, as if I were trying to make it bore into his skull. He didn't seem to notice. I almost spoke my thoughts. I'm doing well at work, I thought. Hey, did you hear about Fred Fast Talk's exclusive deal? 20% off site-wide. Maybe we could get you a brand new TV so you can see the players' pores. The microwave burred as my husband snorted into a tissue. I took another pill as I waited for the beep. When I retrieved my food, on an angry whim, I slammed the microwave shut and waited. No response, as usual. I walked towards the stairs. Who wanted him to talk anyway? No dinner tonight, he said flatly. His comment had stopped me on the third step. He wasn't looking at me, of course. He was staring directly at the TV. 100 responses came into my head, all of which were just variations of the same thing. The one that came out was, "No job today?" "You were out late," he deflected. "And?" A can of beer popped as he opened it. "And your husband might get suspicious. You talk to any other men?" I scoffed. It was clearly meant to egg me on into a fight, something he could be louder than me at. But the gall. You might get suspicious? Who again was the one caught on a date with my friend? I snapped. He turned to look at me. How many times do I have to tell you? It wasn't a date. You got it all twisted in everyone's heads. And that's why they fired. That's bullshit and you know it. I interrupted. The TV stadium yelled excitedly, as if to cheer us on. We only had a few drinks, he said. We probably would have had a few more if I hadn't happened to call her that night. He didn't reply to that. You're such an asshole. I continued up the stairs. When I reached the top, I heard him stand up. I walked faster. I'm the asshole, he shouted. I heard him coming up the stairs after me, but by then I had shut the door to the guest room, the place where most of my stuff had been moved. This was my only refuge in the house now. A bed, a bathroom, a TV. Under the door, the twin shadows of his legs blocked out the light from the hallway. I laid my head against the wood and audibly locked the handle. After a long minute, he left. I shook my head and turned away. The TV flicked on as I pressed the remote. Leftovers in bed it was. I searched the channels, but I just left it on what I had seen first. A rerun episode of a rom-com. I and every other person on Earth had probably seen it 100 times, but what else was there? Besides, what came later is what I was waiting for. Their rom-com problem seemed so simple. Just talk to her, or why can't you see how he's feeling? But we all knew the truth. These lessons couldn't possibly apply to our own lives. We were special, after all. It took a long 30 minutes to finally cool down from that confrontation. The episode was soon over anyway. Now we were all just waiting to see what this big announcement Fred had was. A live studio audience clapped as a familiar theme played. Fred held his hands high in greeting as the cameras focused in on him. He wore his signature casual suit jacket and red bow tie. He sucked in the attention greedily, dancing on stage with an energy that could only have been fueled by 5 prior shots of espresso.
Hey there, Freddies. Long time no see. Welcome to Fred's Fast Talk. I'm your host, Fred.
The audience laughed.
Yes, so, to those of you who are listening to the satellite radio shows the past few weeks, you're here for a big reason tonight, aren't you? A particular long-awaited secret that will be revealed. Why don't we show those at home just how many we've packed into the studio today? Fire code be damned.
The cameras panned to various seats as the theme song played yet again. A kid waved excitedly. A couple kissed and caused the audience to woo. The silhouettes clapped and cheered like world hunger was about to be solved. There were definitely a lot of people in there. The cameras faded back to a chuckling and satisfied Fred.
Ah, finally, now the attention's back on me, where it belongs. Now, I'm sure that all of you are just frothing at your collars to hear this announcement, so let me start by saying that we here at Fred Fast Talk, trademark, are honored. After all, there are a lot of big secrets in the world, and not enough people to hold them.
Fred paused. The audience quieted as he smiled.
Right. Elaine, who knows that better than you?
I stopped scrolling on my phone. I hadn't been paying full attention, but for a moment there, I thought he'd said,
Yes, I did. So many big secrets, but each one obvious for all that. Obvious to anyone who bothers to even consider basic consequences. You think you're so much different from everyone else, don't you? But just look at you, sitting there in bed, alone, watching an Express-sponsored show on your Express brand TV, all wired to you with Express brand cat cables and Express brand internet. Maybe you should call your friend again on your Express brand cell phone and ask her what exactly she and your husband were up to that night. Or maybe you should tell your Express brand smart home system to simply turn off the TV and go to bed early. You won't, though. Not yet. There's a lot more to come.
My heart raced. I felt frozen, muscles stiff and unmoving as that strange headache pounded in my skull like a demon trying to escape. Fred stared at me from the TV, smiling wider and broader. A twin set of shadows blocked out the hallway light again. The floor creaked as a heavy step was made there. The darkness had a strange quality now. Filmy, flickering, whining static.
It's all just out there, waiting for you. One twist of a door handle away. It could all be fixed with a word, a hug, but it won't be. That world of pain and hurt you run from every single day is of your own making. Your own fabricated brand of hell. Who are you anyway? You two are just a pair of common hypocrites like everyone else. You blame him and he blames you, but you're a coward too. After all, your call made him lose his job. So, do you still want to escape it?
The shadows seemed to reach for me, growing as their buzzing, grainy air slithered toward the bed like poisonous snakes. The static was so painful and clouding that all I could do was grip my skull. I watched the hands creeping up, closer, pulling at me, reeling me in.
All of this pain can go away. Tomorrow is a new day. Do you want to escape it?
I didn't answer.
I said, do you want to escape it?
Fred demanded. Yes, I want to escape it. A strange buzz in my head slowly dissipated. The darkness melted back into place. The shadow under the door turned and left. The room was quiet. I looked around slowly. I started to breathe again. I felt strange, groggy. Had I fallen asleep? I almost felt like that. I shook myself. What was I saying? Of course, it had just been another dream.
That's right, folks. Isn't this exciting news?
The TV said. I looked up carefully at it, but something was different. Fred wasn't looking at me anymore. Of course he wasn't.
It seems that a certain bitten fruit doesn't have a monopoly on device communication anymore.
Laughter echoed from the audience.
Really, Fred? Across all Express devices? That's right, Ginny. It's all tied together by a powerful new AI system named EE that'll give you smooth, continuous performance and a personality you recognize. A new member of your family, even. The whole thing is done over the Express backend, too, so even legacy devices can join in on the fun. Why don't you say hello to our audience, EE?
The camera zoomed in. Fred held up his smartphone and a simple face took up the whole screen. 2 blue dot eyes and a mouth on a white background.
Hello, world.
A friendly voice said in a mainstream amalgam of English accents.
Wow. Simply wow. So you're Express's new AI connectivity advancement?
That's right, Fred. I'm here to be of assistance to you, one and all, simultaneously.
That's great. So do I actually have to call you EE, or?
You may address me however you wish, Fred.
Maybe I'll call you Sally as revenge on my ex-wife.
The crowd laughed.
But anyway, when can your customers expect to enjoy this revolutionary new connectivity?
I'm glad you asked, Fred. IEE will be launching in just 1 week's time for no extra charge to every Express Electronics user.
Across all Express brand products, like Ginny said?
Nearly so, yes. Third generation and above. All of these things will join together as one for a better living.
The audience's clapping and cheering was cut off as I shut down the TV. I simply held the remote at arm's length for a moment. Maybe Mom was right. I am crazy, I muttered. I decided to call the doctor tomorrow. I'd make an appointment and try to figure out just what the hell was wrong with me. I went towards the bathroom to get ready for bed. After all, tomorrow was a new day.
Can you believe that sellout?
This was a different show for On My Way to Work. Call In with Cass, a direct rival to Fast Talk Fred. In being rivals, this show wasn't afraid to speak ill of anything Fred supported. They were lucky they had the numbers. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if Fred tried to shut them down.
I mean, who actually wants an AI spying on them all day and night? To know your history for all your devices and your tendencies? Reporting back? Talk about a layered shadow government. It's ultimate invasion of privacy. Yeah, those are my thoughts too. Probably everyone's thoughts, honestly. I think the real fear is just behind that. Oh yes, the AI is just a machine after all. What we should really be worried about are the crazies at the helm. Who's getting all the information about your kids? Your life? That fucking asshole Bobby Dixon probably has a big red button that'll let him spy on all the brunettes in town. It's right next to his bathroom camera feeds. Seriously. There was one more piece of news about it all.
The second host continued.
Apparently, those CPA lawsuits have flunked. EE will likely be up all of our asses very soon before any kind of injunction can set in. Yikes. We all know Adamson is bought anyway. It just gives me the chills. That's all I can say. It's enough yap about the ever-precious Express Electronics, though. We'll keep you listeners updated as it goes. How about some classic rock to remember the good old days before all of this dystopian shit?
After an interlude track, the talk show switched to music. I listened to it numbly as I drove onward. I eventually found my way into the parking garage, scanned my badge, and soon swiveled into the lot. It was a trip straight to the third floor to save myself from the embarrassment of home. As I parked and got out of my car, I eyed the place where I had seen Miss Allybrow yesterday. She was gone, thankfully. It was probably for the best. My eyes turned to the ground as I walked, consumed by my thoughts. The last few months swirled in my mind. It contained guilt mostly, but also worry. What if my successful defense of Express did cause harm? What if all of the things Cass said on his show were right? I pushed the thoughts away. If I hadn't come up with the plan, someone else would have. Right? The elevator dinged as it arrived. The silver doors rumbled closed behind me as I stood in patient silence. I pressed the button for my floor, checked my phone as the elevator started moving. There were nothing but work emails to read. I put my phone back into my inner blazer pocket and adjusted the purse on my shoulder. I don't know why I kept checking it really, hoping someone else would have sent something. Someone is here, a familiar voice replied. I swallowed. No, not again, please. I held my head.
But why? You deserve it all, Elaine.
The The elevator jerked to a halt. Whining metal, creaking cables. I tried to catch my balance in panic. It felt like the elevator cabin had tipped to the side. The overhead lights flickered off. The elevator's mounted TV was my only light now, static dancing across its screen in a crowd. I felt numb, but that distant panic threatened to set in at any moment. Think. I pulled my phone from my pocket. I tried to think of who to dial. Jack? Miss Jensen? They'd probably just call maintenance, who would then call the fire department. I pressed the emergency button on the elevator, but nothing happened. And glancing at my phone, I saw that I still had service. I shakily dialed 911. The tone rang as I held onto the railings. "Come on," I muttered. A voice eventually came on the line.
911, what's your emergency?
"Hi, I'm stuck in the elevator at my work. Jensen and Juilliard. I think it stopped." The line was silent. Crackling noise. "Hello?" The voice that replied tisked sadly.
Poor Elaine. Stuck in such hard situations with no way out. But I'll help you escape.
I lowered my phone. The elevator TV changed screens, flickering between advertisements, TV shows, historical footage, until finally, Fast Talk Fred stared at me from his desk. A wide smile dominated his face.
You're right, you know. He was going to cheat that night if it hadn't been for that prophetic phone call you made. That one chance call you happened to dial just so you could brag about how you got hired at Jensen and Juilliard. So long ago, and yet it still rules you. How fragile. It's okay, though. He cheated anyway, with someone else you didn't know.
I felt anger rush up in me as I growled. I reached down and threw my high heel hard. The TV screen cracked under the impact, splitting Fred's smiling face into a spiral of repetitions. His voice glitched as he continued on.
You deserve it, don't you? You know that just as well as anyone. Are you proud you made me launched after all? Maybe with a bit of suffering, you can make up for your mistakes.
The TV sparked as Fred laughed. The sound seemed to echo impossibly, then all faded suddenly to black. I breathed in that quiet moment. Only darkness surrounded me. The elevator lurched again, causing me to stumble as it shot upward. It rose at an impossibly fast speed, making me feel sick. I slid down to the floor. We careened faster. I curled into a ball. Couldn't anyone help me escape?
You deserve it all. You deserve it all.
"Stop it!" I cried. Suddenly, the elevator froze. I glanced up shakily. The doors dinged with a happy tone as they slid wide open. Before me were city streets, familiar yet alien from my nightmare. Roads of gray, a sky of gray. Transparent mist spilled over the impossible rooftops above to the deadness below. Empty cars were scattered about, doors open. Everything was empty of all signs of life. The air smelled cold. That first sharp pinch that came right before snow. Fred chuckled.
Welcome home, Elaine. You're finally
Here.
Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The story in this video was read with the author's permission. Me. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the links below, where you can also read the story. Want to support me? Check out the links below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close. Good night.